You are listening to Africa Business Radio, where you get up-to-date insight on Africa business landscape. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com. Your favorite shows are available as podcasts. Download them on our website and mobile app. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
You're listening to Africa Business Radio, where you get up-to-date insights on the Africa business landscape. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com. Your favorite shows are available on podcasts. Download them on our website and mobile app. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
We are the wind in the sails of your business. We are your compass. Chart your course towards your targets. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
Africa, the mother of all continents.
A land brimming with human, material, and natural resources.
Bedeviled by challenged leadership, socio-economic instability, and war.
In the midst of the chaos, there exists a group of individuals and organizations working to rewrite this narrative.
Non-profits and non-governmental organizations, bridging the gap of human existence.
Telling stories about the third sector. My name is Kemak Onyenuchea. Join me at 1300 hours West African time every Monday and Thursday on Africa Business Radio as I bring to you the success stories as well as the challenges faced by non-profit organizations in Africa and the individuals who run them. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com or download the Africa Business Radio app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. The third sector on Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
Africa, the mother of all continents.
A land brimming with human, material, and natural resources.
Bedeviled by challenged leadership, socio-economic instability, and war.
In the midst of the chaos, there exists a group of individuals and organizations working to rewrite this narrative.
Non-profits and non-governmental organizations, bridging the gap of human existence.
Telling stories about the third sector. My name is Kemak Onyenuchea. Join me at 1300 hours West African time every Monday and Thursday on Africa Business Radio as I bring to you the success stories as well as the challenges faced by non-profit organizations in Africa and the individuals who run them. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com or download the Africa Business Radio app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. The third sector on Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
We are the wind in the sails of your business. We are your compass. Chart your course towards your targets. Africa Business Radio. Towards a profitable Africa.
I am an African entrepreneur. This is my point of view. This is my position and overlook of business in my continent. This is my African perspective on Africa Business Radio. Towards a profitable Africa.
Good afternoon, my name is Hepzibah Shinubi, and this is my African perspective. Now, we all know for sure that we are behind. We're behind the Western world in almost everything. Not everything, but almost everything. I mean, they've gotten their gay rights figured out and we haven't. But this is what I think about the African market. We are a unique set of people, and we are a lot of people. Now, imagine putting a lot of people in a room and asking them to figure things out and work things out. The room you put them in had a previous owner who put nails in the wall, who tilled the ground, who messed up the place, and now you have to clean it up and present it to the world and make something good out of it. That's what we are doing right now. We're all trying to figure things out. Now, because we're a unique set of people dealing with a set of gifts that we're figuring how to work with, it might look like we're doing mumbo jumbo or we're not getting it right. But that's not the point. We're moving and we're moving ahead. The important things are what we're doing. We're inventing and reinventing. We're modeling things to work in a way that is unique to each market. We don't have a one-size-fits-all, one blanket-fit-all model. In Nigeria, it's star 737 or star 894. In Kenya, it's M-Pesa and Safaricom and all of that, right? We don't have one currency, no. We don't have a unique border system. But the truth is, we're not where we used to be. We're where we should be going. We're forward-looking, and we're working to get there. You as a business person in Africa, you would also be faced with challenges. You would have to figure out things out while the world while Africa figures out itself too. So in all of that, it's important to be positive and forward-looking. Africa is a great continent. We're not where we're supposed to be, but we're definitely on our way. My name is Hepzibah Shinubi, and that was my African perspective.
I am an African entrepreneur. This is my point of view. This is my position and overlook of business in my continent. This is my African perspective on Africa Business Radio. Towards a profitable Africa. I am an African entrepreneur. This is my point of view. This is my position and overlook of business in my continent. This is my African perspective on Africa Business Radio. Towards a profitable Africa.
My name is Fatima Oladoshu. This is my African perspective. I see Africa as a place of wealth, as a person or a lady that has lost her identity or that is finding her identity. That's the word to use. Some of us are better. Some of us are still yet to find it. Some of us are far from finding our identity. And that we are a place of wealth, a place of where great opportunities abound rather. There's so much to do. There's so much wealth, abundance, land, green, people. We have so many people in Africa. If only they could understand who they are, where they are, what they are capable of doing, then we'll be the dream Africa that we all see inside of our hearts. A place of wealth, a place of love, peace, joy, acceptance of humanity as they are, of our differences and of our limitations. My name is Fatima Oladoshu. That was my African perspective.
I am an African entrepreneur. This is my point of view. This is my position and overlook of business in my continent. This is my African perspective on Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
Hello there, hello Nigeria, hello Africa, and hello world. I welcome you to another edition of the Third Sector on Africa Business Radio. And of course, my name remains Kemak Onyenuchea, and I'm so excited and proud that you have decided to grant me the privilege to host you on this show that brings you the in-depth analysis of happenings in the non-profit sector, as well as expose into the lives of the individuals who run these organizations. Africa is a complex yet very beautiful and stable continent. And the more we are faced with great challenges, the greater number of humans are coming up with programs that attest to the resilience and grace of the African continent. Of course, today I have a social sector practitioner in the studio with me, and we are going to be listening to her tell her story and the trajectory of her life and career, as well as regale us with the great work that she's doing on the platform of her non-profit organization. Enitan Ibironke is a lawyer by profession. She is a seasoned trainer, a certified etiquette coach, trained journalist, and brand strategist. She holds a master's degree in international law and diplomacy, and her passion for sublime processes and procedure translates into her work as a personal and corporate brand and elocution coach who assists individuals and organizations execute effective image and communication skills projection, as well as people management. She currently consults with CFA.org, an international development organization, as a media liaison officer on the Migrant Project. And the Migrant Project is a social intervention dedicated to equipping youth with intelligent migration information, as well as counseling and rehabilitation of irregular returnee migrants. Her career trajectory has also seen her lend her consulting skills to top-notch educational institutions, where she has assembled and built school teams and launched turnaround strategies for leadership in co-educational private schools in Lagos. Enitan has trained as a soft skills trainer with Poise Nigeria and volunteers with the Nigerian operations of the United States of America-based Performance Facts Incorporated, an education consulting and management outfit. She is a volunteer with the Christopher Collade Center for Leadership and Ethics of the Lagos Business School, Pan Atlantic University. In addition to volunteering at the ISHK Tolerem Skills Hub, she is also on the mentoring board of the prestigious Women in Successful Careers, WISCA, a leading non-profit for the personal and career development of women. Enitan is mother to two beautiful girls who she considers her primary focus and greatest life achievement. And she recently launched the Legend Life Foundation. This woman is a ball of activity, a ball of intelligence, and a ball of resilience rolled into one. Of course, she is my personal friend and a member of our social club, the Social Millennials Network, doing great work and busy as an ant. Enitan, you are welcome to the third sector.
Kemak, thank you so much. Listening to you talk about me, I started wondering, is there another Enitan in the room?
I know, right?
But, thank you so much. I mean, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here, and I truly appreciate you having me on the third segment.
Thank you so much. And, I might just add to the viewers that I called Enitan less than 2 hours ago.
Yes,
you were on your way to another appointment.
Oh, yes, I was. And I had to move that to later on in the day because I could not say no to your request.
Oh, thank you so much, Enitan. You're such a darling.
Thank you. You're doing awesome work. And I know what you're doing. I know it's awesome. And I thought to myself, this is something I should be proud of. And no matter how short the notice is, don't do it next time, actually. I charge in foreign currency. If you try it, it's going to be dollars. Which one is better now? Dollar, pound, euro? Anyone shall all together.
Oh my word. Thank you so much, Enitan.
You're welcome.
All right, now let's jump right into it. Of course, you are so many things rolled in one. You have your hands in so many pies, yet you manage never to be disheveled, or you juggle all these things in addition to being a mother to your beautiful girls. How does Enitan play all these roles? Right.
That's the first reaction. I think the first thing first is this. One of the things that has really helped me over the years is a very strong sense of purpose. When I say purpose, I don't mean purpose in the general sense. From a very young age, I had realized that I wanted to help people. For me as a person, I'm a people person. I'm about communications, thanks to my mom, who would make sure that you communicate fluently in both English and our vernacular and our traditional language. So it was always something that was at the back of my mind. I remember when I was a child, we had a particular house help, and you know how most times when they're giving you snacks or giving you things, you're thinking to yourself, most people would just think about themselves. I mean, really, that's how a lot of people are. Even my siblings sometimes, forgive me siblings, but so it was always particular about, do we give the house girl, what if you give me biscuit and Capri Sun or anything at all? I'm thinking about them. And so that particular day, I got a yes. And I was so excited about the fact that I could go and give this biscuit to the nanny that I ran headlong into the door had a big gash on my head here. And I remember asking myself, who sent you this errand? But that person hasn't left me. And I remember, after university, when I was during my university days, the first project I wanted to write was on international law. And my focus was not just because I wanted to go into the diplomatic service, which I haven't fully gone into yet, but then I have eventually entered into the international space somewhat. In a sense, in two different senses, actually. I will get to that in a moment. And so, for me, international law, I wanted to, and then lazy me, I eventually went for law of torts. But we'll get into that. After a while, when I went for my master's in international law and diplomacy, which I eventually said to myself, this is your dream. Why was I interested in the international space? For me, at that point in time, being able to do things that were going to change human lives needed to be done at scale and on a global level. And that was the focus I had all my life. When I wanted to study mass commerce of law, it was about being able to communicate. My mentors then were not even people on NTA or any of the local stations. It was CNN. And that was because I felt I'd always had this notion of, how do you change things? How do you change people? How do you build a better and vibrant society through the humans? And so when you ask me the question, how have I been able to juggle all this? It's that deep sense of purpose, number one, and a very, very, I must say, extremely strong sense of resilience. I won't just take resilience alone, but I say strong sense, because there are many times when I am tired, when I am exhausted, when I just think, what's it all about? When I feel like I have failed or dropped on one side, and then I get up again, I remember that you need to keep going. You need to keep pushing. You need to be able to, you need to leave your footprints in the sands of time and create your own legacy. And so, even though we haven't come to that, I will tell you why the name Legend sticks and stands out for me in more ways than one.
Perfect, Enitan. Now, there's a huge, of course, every social sector practitioner will tell you resilience is a major factor in their operations. And of course, it's as a human survival skill. I think everyone needs to study resilience as probably a subject matter, like the way people study law or medicine or education. as a woman, I know your story. Well, a bit about your story, your backstory, where you're coming from, the kind of family you were born into. Well, let me announce to my viewers, Enitan is one of the bourgeois children. One of Nigeria's bourgeois kids.
God, please.
So now I'm trying to marry your focus on the less privileged and underserved in society. Coming from that other echelon of society, it seems like there's such a dissonant gap. Now, you have told me a bit about your upbringing and the role that your parents, God rest their souls, played in positioning you as a player in the third sector. Can you regale our listeners with this story?
Okay, you see, for me, thank you for putting me on blast and announcing to the whole world what I don't know that you're talking about. But then I would say one thing, that I am thankful to have been born the way I've been born, because one thing that I realize is that don't take anything for granted. If you were born into a certain way of life, accept it and then pay it forward.
Right.
That's what I simply tell people. Now, why and how did I get into this? I must say that my parents were the most giving people ever. And I would dare say that not just were, but they still are, because even after they've gone on, we're seeing their works and the things that they've done and they're doing, still living in more ways than one. Now, my dad in particular, my dad was born into a very humble background. He was born in a small town back then called Ikorodu, which is now a big town.
Right.
Because when we were growing up and we would have to go to Ikorodu, we used to say, we're going to the countryside.
Right.
And my dad would be like, it's not your fault.
See, that's what I said. You're calling it country. Like, regular children call it the village.
Well, sorry. For Lagosians like us, we never thought there was any village in Lagos.
Oh, right.
And that was really the notion that we had.
Right.
So my dad grew up there. And he always told us how he felt there was life across the water. You know, when in Ikorodu back then, they would look across the water and say, we're going to Eko, we're going to Lagos. Lagos was London. And he felt, there's life here. So my dad eventually actualized his dreams of going to Lagos. My dad went beyond Lagos and went around the world. And he built a very successful business empire for himself.
Right. But
one thing that was very clear that we always saw was there was no one that my father ever turned back. You would not have a problem and my dad would not solve it for you. And you know, it wasn't just that he solved problems. My dad literally institutionalized his philanthropy.
Wow.
You find that when we were growing up, there were so many awards that were given to him from the Lions Club, Rotary, different organizations. Even in Ikorodu, my dad's name is in the Hall of Fame for philanthropy. And so from such a young age, we always saw, you come and greet my dad. If I used to be upset, that you come and greet him, and then his hands would always go into his pocket and come out. So we always knew that somehow. So even you as a child, if you're making a request or something, and you see his hands going into his pocket, you know that something is coming out of his pocket. You know, but if there's no movement, you just keep pleading. So I saw that example. I saw my dad send children to school. My dad paid for he paid for people's bills. He raised other people's children, even in his own house, as own children. And with that kind of background and setup, there was no doubt about it that it was only natural that a lot of his children, and there's not one of my dad's children who actually doesn't exhibit that kind of trait. I have one or two of my siblings who also have foundations or NGOs of their own as well. Nice. And you know, so in addition to their regular everyday 9-to-5 roles or businesses. And so my parents, even my mom was someone that, everybody, you know, when every single person loved my mom gave generously. I remember at my mom's, her wakekeeping, she was very active in the old people's home in Yaba. And so the old people came, and there was a particular old man who was crying and saying, Remy, this was not what you told us. So you see, even those things, I remember saying at my mom's burial that, Mom, we're going to make you proud. So, you know, I started asking questions. What are the things that we can do? My parents were not just about have a successful career, be a known name. The fundamental of my parents' lives was about other people, about giving, about blessing, about empowering people. And so over the years, I eventually came to the conclusion that all the talents, the schooling, the education, the network and everything I have should be aggregated into this core purpose of being able to make sure that other lives out there that are comfortable, uncomfortable, are able to get a better sense of value, and above all, I want to be a strong nation builder. My father made a mark, and I told myself that I must make a mark.
Right. And making a mark you are.
Thank you.
Right, Enitan. It's really refreshing to know that, of course, the family plays a major role in the life of every individual and how people turn out. Now, is it safe to say that this has, in some ways, influenced the work that you do with mentoring young women?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I must say, when I was growing up again, at some point I wrote a letter to my mom telling her, or both of them actually, but more particularly my mom, telling her that she must have adopted me.
Wow.
Because I could not.
Can you just explain that? Because I think for millennial children in our generation, everyone had that split moment growing up where you're asking questions is this really my mother or was I adopted? In my case, because I'm a split image of my mom, so I couldn't ask any questions.
I knew I looked like my dad. I mean, my dad's mom was exactly my height, wear the same shoes. In fact, when she was 90 something and she was having a particular chieftaincy ceremony, they bought the same shoes for us. So we were the same shoe size. So I knew, but then I was convinced that nobody could be this uptight, could be this difficult, could be this prim and proper.
Right.
And we used to call her Miss Proper. And her favorite word would be, why would your house look like the house of Mr. Foolish?
Oh, my word.
What is that? You would go, my mom was all about how we're going, imagine an example, we're trying to go out. And then you're telling her that, Mom, I don't want to wear this particular piece of jewelry. It's GL, yes. I say, you're not old enough to wear gold because I'm not going to give you gold. When you're going to wear gold, you will buy it with your money, which she eventually made happen with all my last savings. And I was really...
Oh, my word.
But then I'll tell her, Mom, my neck used to really get irritated with non-gold. My mom said, you know what? Life is about learning to endure. You will wear that jewelry out. When you get back home, you will find a solution. And that's how I found solution like, get dusting powder, put on the neck. And so those things, I asked myself, who is teaching young girls? Who is teaching even women? And I dare say, recently I started realizing that even the abysmal state of a lot of men. Hope the men in the room are not going to beat me.
No, certainly not. You're good.
But
you are good. We are all feminists here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So that's one of the final things. And so over the years, I looked and I said, when we get into any particular setup, everybody always talks about the fact that we had the certain way of coming across. The comportment, the deportment, the dress sense, the way, the value, the way we'd speak. And I honestly thought growing up that it was commonplace. Like you would find it everywhere. That because maybe first, I told her that they sent me some of the worst schools, like they'll beat me. But hey, compared to my siblings who went to Corona, who went to St. Saviour's, who went to Queen's College, I'm like, okay, well, my mom just probably thought this girl, maybe she needs a little more discipline. Which I'm not. Basically, by and large, a lot of people around me were pretty much almost the same. So cousins, family, and so it was quite a bit of a shock over a period of time to start realizing that what I thought was commonplace was not as commonplace. That was the first part of it, and so that's how I thought to myself, who would teach young girls? The other part again was the fact that even though I had all this around me and the growing up, I had a lot of self-esteem issues. So in secondary school, it was really bad. I mean, I've always been smallish. Okay, now I can't particularly say I'm small anymore. I can only say I'm short.
Oh my
But back then, I was short and small. So I had no problem with that, actually, because people used to tell me, one day someone said, do you know you're diminutive? I said, what English does that? What's that?
My word.
And I said, you are, and I eventually found I meant, I was larger.
Yes, you are larger than life, Enitan. Like your aura, the essence of you is almost intimidating. Almost.
Yeah, I hear that. And so I started realizing that a lot of people, there might be people who have that. And on the other hand, I've also met a lot of people who have zero confidence, and I realized that in the lack of confidence, they come across brash or arrogant. And I then started noticing that it was a lot of ignorance I was listening.
Exactly.
So people don't know how to engage, they don't know how to have communication, they don't know how to have conversations. They don't know, and then simple ones. Well, maybe not so simple. Dining etiquette,
Right.
proper dining. How do you dine? How do you eat? How do you meet people who you think are higher than you in status, and then you're still able to come across confidently without being intimidated. So those things, because I went back to secondary school where when I'm walking towards a group of people and I had very bad K legs, but I used to straighten the legs, like make it straight. And so when I'm walking towards a group of, especially boys, oh my days, short, skinny, small, in secondary school, everything. So
it really is a tough world for women, like the things that women have to contend with.
You know?
I couldn't have been bothered about the shape of my legs or my height or my weight. Right, as a teenage boy.
Whatever.
But, these things are such huge deals for women.
They are.
And it is so unfair.
It's unfair. And, you discover that in the midst of all that, a lot of parents and older people are either giving them wrong information or they're trying to make them not even acknowledge them. Don't think about boys.
Right.
Don't think about your body.
Right.
Focus on your books. Be this. And then the young girls don't have anyone to talk to.
Inadvertently reinforcing those fears.
Thank you.
And
then so perhaps, unfortunately, some may have some classmates who have older ones who have overexposed them or who, through some form of negligence, have gotten too much information that they shouldn't handle at that age. And those things made me really, really start to the combination of my mom's upbringing and then my own self-esteem challenges made me ask how many more people will be dealing with things like this and that would need somebody who is very different. I'm a very different adult. Most young people actually hide my behavior. I can look at me and think we're literally the same age.
Right. Which is the best life, to remain young at heart.
Forever, ageless.
Oh my word. Enitan, this is awesome.
Thank
you.
I
do have a couple of questions concerning the Legend Life Foundation, which you recently launched. But right now we're going to take a quick musical break so that we can recap, and we will be back. And to you, my listeners, please don't go away. The third sector continues after the musical break. See you then.
Africa, the mother of all continents.
A land brimming with human, material, and natural resources.
Bedeviled by challenged leadership, socio-economic instability, and war.
In the midst of the chaos, there exists a group of individuals and organizations working to rewrite this narrative.
Non-profits and non-governmental organizations, bridging the gap of human existence.
Telling stories about the third sector. You are welcome back to the third sector, and this is happening live on Africa Business Radio. The third sector, as we all know, is the radio show that brings you the in-depth analysis of the happenings in the non-profit sector in Africa, as well as tells the stories of the great practitioners, young men and women who run these non-profit organizations. And I have with me in the studio Enitan Ibironke, the founder and executive director of the Legend Life Foundation. You're welcome back to the program, Enitan.
Thank you so much, Kemak.
Yes, it's wonderful. You are just a ball of energy. Woo! And you're driving the conversation. I don't even need to. I don't have any preparations. My papers, nothing.
I noticed that. I'm like, oh, this is quite a privilege. Kemak doesn't have any papers.
You do have. You just have a way with words, and you are great at driving conversations.
Thank you.
It's so great to have you. Now let's talk a bit about the Legend Life Foundation. And you were going to tell us why the word legend means so much to you. So I think we should start from there.
Oh, well. Thank you. The word legend, how it means so much. I will start by saying this. My name is Enitan. That's a Yoruba name, which means a person of history, a person of story, or a person with a legend. And so, incidentally, for so many years in secondary school, I really wanted to use my middle name, and my mom would say, no, you are going to use that name Enitan. So while I was, some years back when I was in the Republic of Benin working with another radio station, a lot of my work had to do with meeting people and talking about thematic issues in Africa. Right. And I met a lot of dignitaries. So one day I met somebody very, very that has come to become one of the strongest forces that pushed me in life. And that day he was like, "What's your name?" And I said, "My name is Enitan." I said, "You know that your name means that you're a legend?" I said, "Really?" Wow. It does. Sometimes you don't even think about what you have until somebody
goes
says
right over
it.
your head.
Yes. And that day, one day I'm going to make sure that I get to bring him up and he comes to talk about how whole the journey, and he's one of the greatest influencers of the African youth today. Great. His work's passion is the African youth. Apart from his 9 to 5 in the sector where he is in. And that day the name legend struck, and I thought to myself, this is what you are. This is what you are about. Because at that time I'd started asking questions. My goal then was to become CNN Journalist of the Year.
Oh wow.
One day. And I said,
of course, it's still a dream that is valid.
That was a dream then. And I said, but then I asked myself, why am I in the media? Why am I doing media work? Why have I left law to come into journalism? And I just answered the question that I was about building people when that and the name came. And then I eventually went on to brand school. And in brand school, you had to define your brand identity. You had to go into why that brand was relevant to you. And I realized that at the core of everything that I was about was to create legends in everybody.
Wow.
To let everyone know that your life is a story.
Wow.
And you are the author. After you've taken out the divine and the supernatural, you were created with things within you that are about a story, about something, and so you owe it to yourself to create that legend of your life. And then, believe me, the world wasn't made for a few people to leave their footprints in the sand.
I absolutely agree.
We all have a role to play, even if it's just in one community. And all I'm doing there is to make sure that every child in that community has somebody who says, good morning, how are you to that child? It doesn't have to be. You don't have to become the person who is featured on all the international billboards. You may just be in your own. And that was how the word legend became important to me. That's how the word legend. So when I sign my name, even on social media and a lot of platforms, you find any legend.
Right.
So it becomes the any Enitan, a person of story, a person that is a legend, a person that creates something phenomenal out of life. And that's when I was going to think through, before now, I mean, my business, it might be Legend Life. Wow. And that was what it was about. And I said, no, Legend Image, Legend Life, because after going into trainings and image consulting, branding and etiquette, I was like, what is the common goal for me was that legend, creating legends. My whole goal is beyond me. It's not about me. It's about pouring out of myself and giving of what I have to be able to make sure that other people become legendary human
in
beings.
their own right.
In their own right and in their own way.
Fantastic, Enitan. And of course, this has translated into your work with the Legend Life Foundation. Can you tell us a bit about that? Your operations, your thematic focus as a group, and some of the things that you've done. I know you have a lot of gravitas in the areas of helping young people make informed migration decisions.
Yes, please.
Right, so let's go.
Okay, so for me, my work in the social sector, I would start out by saying my work in the social sector has been has gone on for over 15-20 years.
Wow.
So for me, I started out as soon as when I came back to Lagos, I went straight into the social sector, and my work there was around social and economic rights. So we looked at things like right to housing, advocacy. A lot of advocacy was done. And I kept on asking questions. How do people find themselves where, apart from the helplessness of what decisions that government makes or whatnot, how do you take your own life and make decisions around it? And that pushed me into further research and a lot of studying, where I began to discover that the WHO has something called the 10 life skills. And the 10 life skills are now in other parts of the world are entrenched into the curriculum. Which you're finding is not exactly the case here in Nigeria. So you see, while I was thinking to myself that everyone in the social sector and in the social space is in a lot of the hardcore, should I say, technical skills enhancement, I decided that I was going to be the soft skills enhancer in the social sector.
That is so innovative.
Yes, I'm the one I've done over a period of years, going into different communities. I've been into the Ajegunle community, talking to children about etiquette. I start with simple things. It's not just, now people wonder etiquette for slum children, but we're talking about things like tact, empathy. How do you make conversations? Because I tell people that I have discovered that the simple difference between a child that was born rich and a child born poor is the level of exposure.
Right.
And because life is a leveler and we are all going to meet in the marketplace of life, it becomes important that somebody goes out there to ensure that the gap is bridged.
Right.
For the sake of the children that are born for the rich.
Exactly.
It's not because
if you claim to be rich, what happens when your daughter falls in love with?
Yes.
Right.
And when you go, and now these days, education is available to everyone. There's scholarships, there's so many things. So the child of let's for instance use a child of a man who did not go to school may go to school and get a scholarship.
Right.
And then the child doesn't get a scholarship just for a school in Nigeria, but schools in Imperial College.
There you go.
And then what happens to your own child? Your child means that person. Don't forget that the foundation, the roots of whoever we are, started from our childhood.
That's right.
And those are the things that inform the Legend Life Foundation. Our mission, our ethos, our theme is simply empowering people with skills for success in life and career.
Great.
And yes, and why we put it this way is that we're looking at life skills. We're looking at things around building your personal brand. How do you know who you are and take it, not just in your head? Because one of the things that happens is that people don't write their vision down and put it the same. What are my strengths, my weaknesses? A SWOT analysis of your life. So we're organizing workshops that make you sit down, go deep into yourself and imagine. I remember a few years ago, in the course of my work, I've met a lot of people, and when I talk to them about it, they bring me on board of whatever they're doing. And there was a time when we brought in a particular man who does goal mapping.
Right.
I said the brain sees in pictures.
Exactly.
When you say I want a car, you don't see CAR. You see a picture of a
the
car.
kind of car you want.
Yes, and so when we're able to bring people together to draw up and to write up their vision and their plans and their brands, they're able to run towards it and create a better life for themselves.
Wow.
And they're able to. So one of my greatest inspiration for the Legend Life Foundation was my work in the NGO I spoke about earlier on at the beginning of my career. And one thing that kept on ringing in my head was the Grameen Bank, was the work of the Grameen Bank in India, where they said, how did they create access to finance and wealth for low income women? That because the cycle of poverty does not stop. The mother is poor, gives birth to children, the child continues that poverty, that child gives birth to his own or her own children, continues that poverty,
just a cycle
and it's
of
a cycle. And that was how Grameen said, what do we do? How do we create a change? By doing something that was never done before, and saying these people will not get funds from a
the
bank,
regular bank.
He realized that they were farmers, they would go out, they were selling things, and they were making returns, and at least the children were able to eat. He said, how about giving them money and keep creating accountability partners in the community amongst them? And so those things that was about 2003 thereabouts.
Yeah.
That I read and I heard about that. And because my work was around economic rights. So for me, I'd never been a human rights person. It's about things social, and those things struck. And I know that my ED then, my ED and the founder of the organization will be like, wow, they'd only said that enter. We knew you were going to do things like this. And so it's those kind of things that have made me over the years going to secondary schools, collaborating with people, work with other organizations, and going there and keep talking to children. It gladdens my heart, and even young people. I say to people that you may miss it. Somebody may never have spoken to you when you're a child, but you can still change your life again between the ages of 18 to 25.
Right.
At every point, you can reinforce and actually redesign your life.
Right.
So for me, I never think anyone is too old.
It's never too late to start.
That's
the point.
One of my favorite quotes again is, a fool at 40 can start again.
Oh my
So if you
word.
can start again at 40, how much more below 40?
That's right.
And so the Legend Life Foundation has pretty much been about, it was a child of necessity. It had to be born.
Right.
There was a need for that formalization. And I must say that one person who strongly eventually pushed me in recent years and made sure that, without even realizing that particular foundation was birthed, was a woman. This is one name I'm going to call. I've held back every other person's name, but I will call this name because I feel that if we have more people like that, who just in their own way, without thinking about it, push other people to success. And that's why I told myself that if this one woman pushed you, she's doing so many other things, but she pushed you this way. What about you that intentionally, this is your goal? How much more lives can you push? And I would really like to say a big thank you to Claire Henshaw for pushing at this point. And she didn't even realize I was going to set up the foundation when I did eventually. But the push to every time one person telling you, you can be more, you can do more.
Right.
You are underutilizing yourself. You can do more. See all that you've achieved. See all that you've done. And you are not even fully intentional
about
so what
them.
if you're
so
fully
what if you now
intentional?
sit down and put a structure?
And that is what the Legend Life Foundation is about. Intentionally putting structure and pushing people off their butt to say Nigeria can be better. Even if you want to, for whatever reason, say you are building a life out of Nigeria, you should have intentionality as to what you're going to do, who you want to be, how you're going to go about it. And then for women especially, because it's almost inevitable that a lot of women will give birth to children. So if we don't target women and get them to start thinking from when they're young, you find today so many young mothers, 16, 18,
who
21,
have no bearing for their lives, saddled with the life of another.
Especially in those low-income communities.
Right.
And so those are the reasons and the things that have pushed me to be able to say, you are a legend. We can help you walk through the process of identifying your legendhood and help you to know that this is what you can do. And that is also one of the things that we're also looking at is a lot of mentoring, and not mentoring in the sense that it's done now, but people from the communities who have come out, who grew up, people that you can identify with. I did that a year ago with, there's another organization that I've been doing this on other, and I say, bring somebody from here who went through this process, who used to come from the slums, and who has become something today. And the girls were wowed. They were inspired. I made them write down their goals, simple things. I tell people that for young people, don't think highfalutin goals like I want to be. Just tell them you have an exam coming.
Right.
What do you want to get on the exam? These are stone children who think education doesn't make sense. And so when they suddenly do things like that, they're inspired to say, I can do it. Because the brain remembers your victory from the past and pushes you on to the next victory. And so thank you so much. That is really what has led to Legend Life Foundation.
It's been such, and of course I know, just to chip this in, you are all about the process. I realized, because at the last vision boarding that we were at, you made mention of the need for people to tell their stories. Let's trace your traction.
Yes.
Let's know where you're coming from. So for you, you're not all about life on the gram or just the instant celebrity syndrome.
Very true.
There has to be traceable traction.
That's it.
Of the trajectory of your life.
That is it. That is the only way you can actually concretely build a legend out of somebody else and help them to find their own path. And that is the only way that we can actually see a nation that will change.
Wow. Thank you so much, Enitan, for being on this edition of the show. Now, for our listeners who may want to reach out to you to be a part of what you're doing on the auspices of the Legend Life Foundation, do you have phone numbers or social media?
Yes.
Yes, please.
We may be reached on 0705 797 8442.
Can you take that again?
0705 797 8442. Or you may reach us at legendimagelife@gmail.com.
Great.
legendimagelife@gmail.com.
And of course, if you're calling from outside Nigeria, don't forget to add the country code +234 and just skip the first 0 in the line of numbers. Thank you so much, Enitan.
Thank you for having me.
It's been great. Of course, as always, the conversation with you always turns out almost unbelievably enjoyable.
Yes, I know. Thank you. Don't let my head really expand too much.
No, don't worry.
I don't have hair on my head.
Anyways.
There's no hair there.
All right. God bless you for being here today.
Thank you.
And to you, my precious listeners, it's time to sign out once again. But don't forget, the conversation still continues across our social media platforms, on Instagram at Africa Business Radio and on Twitter at Africa Biz Radio. Of course, as always, you can follow me on my personal Instagram at kemak.o. That's KEMAK.o. It's been such a wonderful pleasure being with you again and sharing this beautiful afternoon on the Third Sector on Africa Business Radio. I will be back on Thursday with another interesting and insightful guest to tell us the story of their practice and their journey in the non-profit sector. Until then, be good and keep making positive impact in your community. God bless you. Goodbye.